Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Mr. Kim, and today we're kicking off Unit 2, Polynomial and Rational Functions. If Unit 1 was about building the foundation with linear and quadratic basics, this unit takes us deeper into the curves and complexities that model real-world growth, decay, and everything in between. Over the next few weeks, let's say next few weeks, we'll build your skills step by step from operations and factoring polynomials to graphing their wild behaviors and diving into rational functions that have those intriguing asymptotes. Stick around for this quick overview and get ready for some mini lessons that'll make this click. Let's jump in. So what's the big picture here? Unit 2 is all about polynomials and rational functions, starting simple and ramping up the challenge. First, we begin with the nuts and bolts, performing operations like adding, subtracting, multiplying, and even dividing polynomials. So think long division or synthetic shortcuts. Then, we factor them using tricks like GCF, greatest common factor, difference of squares, and grouping, which unlocks everything else. From there, we move to graphing and analysis, spotting zeros, multiplicity, intercepts, and end behavior to sketch quadratics and cubic functions accurately. Now, we'll even tackle piecewise and greatest integer functions from Unit 1 that we deferred. Next up, number 3, solving equations with factoring, the quadratic formula, and even regression for real data models. I'm not sure if we're going to go as deep as regression, but let's see. And don't forget inequalities, using sign charts to solve things like x minus 2 times x plus 3 is greater than 0. And finally, we wrap with number 4, rational functions. Simplifying expressions, adding them up, graphing with asymptotes and holes as in open circles or closed circles, and solving equations while watching for those sneaky extraneous solutions. It's a logical flow that builds your confidence, so each section prepares you for the next. By the end of the unit, you'll see how these functions predict everything from projectile motion to population growth. Let's get specific on what you'll walk away with. Our objectives are laser focused to give you that aha perspective. First, you'll nail operations and 4 core factoring skills plus division methods. Like I mentioned earlier, it's going to be long division and synthetic divisions. Now, number 2, use the remainder and factor theorems to evaluate polynomials and classify zeros, whether real or complex zeros, which will tie into the fundamental theorem of algebra. Third, identify key graph features like multiplicity and turning points to sketch quadratic and cubic functions. And also, you'll get to handle those discontinuous piecewise functions. We haven't delved into these as much as we needed to in the first unit, so you'll see here in the second unit. Fourth, solve equations with tools like regression for quadratic models and tackle inequalities with sign charts. Fifth and sixth, dive into rational functions, simplifying complex fractions, adding with unlike denominators, graphing asymptotes and intercepts, and solving equations carefully. Now, these aren't just skills. You already know that. They're tools for you to analyze and predict patterns in data. We'll break them into bite-sized mini lessons soon so you can practice at your own pace. Okay, why bother with all this? Because polynomials and rational functions aren't abstract. They're everywhere. Think of a basketball's arc, which would be a quadratic polynomial modeling height over time, or cubic functions for roller coaster loops, which will predict turns and drops. Ooh, scary. Rational functions, they're pros at asymptotes, approaching but never touching, like radioactive decay in medicine or voltage in circuits. In economics, they model costs that skyrocket towards infinity. Now, mastering these lets you solve real problems, as you can see on the slide. This will optimize business profits with inequalities or even fit data to predict trends like regression. This unit, I hope this unit sharpens your analytical eye, turning what if into here's how. So, are you excited yet? After this introduction to our second unit, I'll drop mini lessons tailored to each skill set. The video lessons on these skills will include vocabulary, example questions with walkthroughs, and opportunities for your self-assessment, like self-checks. As this will no longer be asynchronous, we'll work together on learning as a class. Now, whenever you hit a bump on the road to that mastery, I'm here for office hours after school for your guidance. Now, before we go on, let me clarify my expectations for your notebook. So what's going to be at the top? You can see on my whiteboard what's at the very top. The date, Monday, November 10th, 2025. And then what are we learning for today, right? The title for today's lesson, which is going to be Unit 2, Polynomial and Rational Functions, but you can also add Introduction to Unit 2, Polynomial and Rational Functions, because you're being introduced to this lesson for the first time. Now, as you can see here, each line is going to have one content. So number 1, operations on polynomials. 2, add, subtract, multiply, and divide via long division or synthetic division. Now, why do I have number 2? Because number 1, operations, what does it mean? It is add, subtract, multiply, divide. Now, on the side, 1, 2, 3a, well, these are question numbers in the margins. Now, margins, the extra space on the side, well, these question numbers, it doesn't have to be numbered if you don't want, but please, I think keeping it numbered makes it more orderly. Now, examples. Why did I underline examples? Because this is another title. Now, examples, is there going to be only one example? No, right? There's going to be more than one examples. So that's why I have another title, a subtitle. Well, not subtitles, but a sub, like you know what I'm saying. Okay, example, now 3a, and then 3b. Favorite color, bar graph. So this whole space at the right, I'm using this space by having this another red line in the middle. So you can do that by using a ruler. Now, these grid lines are the square rule lines in your notebook. Now, I really prefer you use grid lines, as I've mentioned before at the beginning of the year. However, if you only have lines, lines may also be ruled using a ruler. Hold it vertically and then draw the lines. But honestly, that takes too much time. So grid lines it is. And at the bottom, assignments, underline, because again, more than one question. Now, in the box, it says rule lines on the side to create margins outside the red lines. Oh, what do you do outside the red lines? Well, if you suddenly have the urge to draw, if you remember some very important thing, but you don't want to be bothered by from this lesson, you can write it down on the side real quick and then come back to it later. Okay, that's note taking. Whoa, that's your whirlwind, a typhoon tour of Unit 2, polynomials and rational functions. From basics to, let me keep it as the same, basics to brilliance. Yeah, you've got this. It's all about seeing the patterns. Head, head to the first mini lesson, dropping tonight on polynomial operations. Pop into the comments below and share a quick math win from Unit 1. It'll spark some great conversation. Let's make this more interactive. Also, if you have any if questions bubble up, you can also leave a comment here on YouTube or you can email me. I'm rooting for you. You know that. I support you 100%. Hit subscribe for notifications on new videos and let's make this unit awesome. All right, guys. See you in the lessons. Bye-bye. And the last slide. Thanks for watching.